Against all odds, she fought to protect her little ones. Like a fox, a mother's clever and fierce fight to protect her cubs. The forest woke slowly under a veil of mist, the first light of morning casting a pale silver glow across the ancient trees. Between the thick roots of an old oak, tucked away from sight, a small den breathed with life. It was here, in the hollowed earth, that a mother fox had brought her kits into the world. 3 tiny bundles of fur, no bigger than the palm of a hand, nestled against her warm belly. Their eyes were sealed shut, their bodies trembling with each fragile breath. In the silence of the forest, where every sound could spell danger, the den became their only refuge, a thin shield against a world that neither forgave nor forgot. The mother fox lay curled around her young, her ears pricking at every crackle of leaves, every sigh of the wind. Hunger gnawed at her belly, exhaustion pressed heavy against her bones, but she did not move. Her whole world had shrunk to this narrow patch of earth, and the tiny lives she now cradled against her. Above them, the forest loomed, beautiful, ancient, and cruel. Predators prowled beneath the trees. The rains would come. Food would be scarce. She knew all of this, had known it before she chose this hidden place, burrowing deep beneath the gnarled oak roots. But still she had hope. Hope that here, beneath the watchful shadows of the towering trees, she could protect her little ones long enough for them to grow strong. Long enough for them to run free through the wild places, untouched by the dangers that now circled unseen. She pressed her nose gently to each of them, one after another, breathing in their newness, their warmth. A silent vow formed in her heart, stronger than hunger, stronger than fear. I will keep you safe, no matter what it costs. Outside, the mist curled and drifted between the trees. The ancient forest remained silent, for now, and deep beneath its roots, life had just begun. Spring had arrived, but it came bitter and lean. The earth, usually bursting with new life, remained stubbornly barren. The rivers ran shallow. The trees held back their fruits. Even the smallest prey, the mice, the rabbits, the birds, seemed to have vanished into the shadows. Each night, as the sky darkened and the cold crept in, the mother fox left her den and slipped into the forest. Her body, once strong and full, had grown thin. Her ribs showed beneath her ragged fur. Her paws, cracked and bleeding, left faint smears across the rocks she climbed and the sharp brambles she pushed through. Yet still she went, night after night. Every fallen leaf was turned over. Every faint rustle was chased. Every scent trail was followed, sometimes for miles. And when at last she caught something, a beetle, a scrap of root, a half-starved vole, she clamped it in her jaws and hurried home. She never ate first. Not once. Instead, she dropped whatever pitiful prize she had found before her kits. They would squeak and scramble, their tiny mouths greedy for nourishment they barely understood, and she would nudge the food closer to them with her nose, watching with aching tenderness as they fed. She would lie beside them afterward, her own belly hollow and aching, her eyes half closed from exhaustion. Hunger gnawed at her relentlessly. Her body weakened. Her movements grew slower. But when the night fell again, and the cold whispered through the trees, she rose once more. Because the forest did not care if she was tired. The forest did not pity the weak, and her babies needed her. Above, the moon carved a pale path across the sky. Below, the mother fox moved like a shadow through the broken earth, desperate, determined, and utterly unwilling to surrender. In the lonely silence of those hard days, her love burned brighter than any flame. The sun was low, casting long, trembling shadows across the forest floor. A hush had fallen over the woods, not the peaceful kind, but the sharp, breathless silence that meant something was wrong. The mother fox lifted her head, her nose twitching. There it was, the scent of danger, sharp and sour, carried on the breeze. She rose silently from the entrance of the den, her body thin, her paws raw from nights spent hunting and scraping through rough ground. Her kits slept behind her, small and defenseless, unaware of the storm that was gathering beyond their fragile sanctuary. Through the trees, shapes moved. Slow, heavy, predators. A pack, wolves perhaps, or worse, drawn by the scent of life, the promise of an easy kill. Their paws crushed fallen leaves, their breath steamed in the cooling air. Closer and closer they came, sniffing, searching. The mother fox knew what they would find if they reached the den, and she knew she could not fight them. Her heart pounded against her ribs, a wild, desperate drumbeat. She looked once over her shoulder at the den, at the tiny shapes curled safely inside. And in that moment, she made her decision. Without hesitation, she stepped into the open. Her body was a shadow against the trees, her frame gaunt and trembling, an easy target. She darted through the underbrush, snapping twigs beneath her feet, making herself seen, heard, smelled. The predators' heads lifted. They saw her. With a flash of teeth and a low, eager growl, they turned away from the den and gave chase. The mother fox ran, not towards safety, but deeper into the dark tangle of the woods, leading them far, far away from the fragile lives she had left behind. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed in protest. Blood dripped from a fresh cut along her side. But still she ran, weaving between trees, scrambling over fallen logs, never once looking back. Back at the den, the forest returned to silence. The kits slept on, untouched, unaware of the sacrifice their mother had made for them. And somewhere in the deepening dark, the mother fox ran alone, carrying with her only a single, fierce thought. Protect them, at any cost. The first warning came with the wind. It howled low through the trees, rattling the branches like bones. The mother fox lifted her head, her ears flattening against the sudden roar that swept through the forest. Above, the sky twisted and churned, dark clouds boiling into a furious black sea. The rain came next, cold, punishing sheets that battered the forest floor, turning the dry earth into rivers of mud. Thunder cracked overhead, splitting the world in two. Lightning seared the sky, throwing the trees into sharp, jagged relief. Deep beneath the old oak, the den shuddered as the floodwaters began to rise. The mother fox sprang to her feet, her body screaming in protest after days of exhaustion. The ground was no longer safe. The water was seeping in, filling the hollow where her babies huddled, squeaking in confusion and fear. Without hesitation, she grasped the first kit gently in her jaws. Her paws slipped and sank into the sodden earth as she clambered up the hillside, searching desperately for higher ground. The rain stung her eyes. Mud clung to her legs. But still she pressed on, carrying her child to a patch of dry roots clinging stubbornly to the slope. She turned back for the others. The second kit, then the third. Each trip was harder than the last. Her legs trembled. Her heart pounded. The river had swollen into a raging beast, snapping at the edges of the den, devouring everything in its path.
The storm raged around her, relentless. Trees cracked and fell in the distance. The very ground seemed to shift under her feet. But she did not stop, could not stop. Over and over, she forced herself forward, dragging her children to safety with a strength that should have long since left her broken. Finally, soaked to the bone and gasping for breath, she curled herself around her kits atop the hill. Her body shielded them from the wind and rain. Her heartbeat, ragged and weak, was the only warmth she could offer. The forest roared in fury, but she would not yield. She had made her vow, protect them, no matter the cost. And so she did, through the night, through the storm, through the dark hours when it seemed the whole world might be washed away. By the time dawn crept over the battered forest, the storm had spent its fury. The world lay shattered and soaked, trees stripped bare, the rivers swollen and angry, the earth gouged and torn. A heavy silence hung in the air, broken only by the drip, drip, drip of water falling from ruined branches. At the top of a muddy hill, huddled beneath the tangled roots of a fallen tree, the mother fox lay motionless. Her body curled tightly around her kits, sheltering them from the last cruel breaths of the night. Her fur was soaked through, her muscles stiff with cold and exhaustion. Every breath she took was a battle, shallow, trembling, barely enough to keep her alive. The kits stirred weakly beneath her, warm and safe against her belly. They had no idea how close the storm had come to stealing them away. They knew only the steady thrum of their mother's heart, the fragile wall of her body that kept the cold at bay. The mother fox lifted her head for a moment, blinking slowly at the broken landscape around her. She swayed where she lay, too weak now to even stand. Her ribs heaved with the effort of breathing. Her paws, raw and bloodied, twitched in the mud. But she did not move from her post. She would not leave them. Not for food, not for shelter, not even to save herself. Her eyes, glassy with fatigue, stayed fixed on the world beyond, ready to defend her young against any threat, even as her own body betrayed her strength. In that battered clearing, under the broken sky, the mother fox fought her final, silent battle. To survive just a little longer. To give her kids a chance at life. To protect them, even if it meant losing herself. And though the forest had nearly drowned her, though the hunger gnawed at her bones and the cold lapped at her soul, she remained, a frail, unyielding shield against a world that had offered her nothing but hardship. By sheer will alone, she endured. For them. Morning broke slowly over the battered forest, painting the broken trees and flooded ground in a cold, pale light. Near the edge of the clearing, where the waters had finally begun to recede, the mother fox lay curled around her kits. Her body was little more than a trembling shield of fur and bone. Her breath came in shallow gasps. Her eyes, once bright and alert, were glazed with exhaustion. She had fought too long, gone too far, and still, even now, she did not move from her post, guarding the tiny lives she had saved. It was there, in that hushed, broken place, that the rescuers found her. They moved carefully through the ruined forest, their boots squelching in the mud, their voices low and soft. They had come looking for survivors, and when they spotted the small shape beneath the oak, they stopped at once. For a moment, they simply stood, staring. They had expected fear. They had expected the mother fox to snarl, to flee, to defend her young with the last of her strength. But she did not. She only lifted her head, slowly, weakly, her gaze meeting theirs not with anger, but with something deeper, something like trust, something like surrender. Her body trembled with the effort of staying upright. But even then, even facing strange creatures she did not know, she made no move to run. Her babies came first. One of the rescuers knelt down, speaking in a low, soothing voice. Carefully, they lifted the tiny kits, wrapping them in soft cloths. The mother watched every movement, her heart hammering. Time passed. In a quiet sanctuary far from the broken forest, life bloomed once again. The mother fox lay beneath the shade of a wide elm tree, her fur no longer matted and thin, but rich and full once more. Her wounds had healed. The hollow hunger in her belly had been replaced by steady meals, the endless fear in her heart eased by the safety that now surrounded her. Around her, the kits, no longer fragile newborns, but sturdy, playful little foxes, tumbled and raced across the soft grass. Their laughter, bright and wild, filled the air. They chased butterflies, wrestled with each other, darted through tall wildflowers, their tiny bodies quick and sure. The mother watched them, her golden eyes soft with a tired but endless love. She no longer had to fight to keep them alive, no longer had to run, or bleed, or fear every shadow. Here, under open skies and safe hands, they could simply be what they were meant to be, wild, curious, full of life. Sometimes, when the wind shifted and brought with it the scent of wet earth and broken trees, the mother would lift her head and remember. She would see again the flood, the hunger, the long, desperate nights. But then a kit would tumble into her side, chirping with joy, and the memory would slip away like a bad dream at sunrise. Her sacrifice had given them this. Her strength had built a future. And now, as her kits grew faster, stronger, braver with every passing day, she knew it had been worth every moment. Every hardship, every wound. Above them, The sky stretched wide and endless. Around them, the fields swayed with the soft whisper of a world made new. And beneath the warm sun, a family thrived, bound together by a love that nothing, not even the wild cruelty of nature, could ever break. In the end, it's not the storms we face that define us, but how we rise after them. The mother fox teaches us that strength isn't about never falling. It's about fighting for what matters, even when the world seems determined to break us. In the quiet moments of sacrifice, in the darkest hours of struggle, we find the true measure of love. It's not about the victories we win for ourselves, but the battles we fight for those we cherish. So, no matter the challenges you face, remember this. The greatest gift you can give is the courage to keep going, no matter the cost. For in that, you will find the light that guides you forward.